It's recap time. Welcome to the Rush Recap. Today I'll be explaining a horror adventure movie called The Nightingale, released in 2018. The film starts in the early 19th century with a woman named Claire. The lady is woken up by her husband Aidan, who ventures into the woods before the tormenting. Claire starts her day by walking through the forest with her newborn. She also gets done with all her house chores, including cooking, cleaning, and laying new concrete on the floor. The scene shifts to Sergeant Ruse, who prepares his men for a possible battle. He also tries to impress his seniors and make a good impression on them. During the night, Claire is made to dress traditionally in order to sing in front of the men. The performance goes really well, and Claire sings beautifully. Later on, a captain named Hawkins orders Claire to be in his room. At first, he asks her to sing for him privately, but later he starts to show his true evil colors. He takes Claire by force and abuses her. When a unit enters the room, Claire is able to escape the scene. During the night, Claire reunited with her family, including her newborn and her husband. Aidan, her husband, inquires about the leaving permit that they need to leave the place. Claire remains silent about the inquiry, and Aidan gets to know that something is terribly wrong. The next day, when Claire is serving drinks to the men, Aidan arrives unannounced. Captain Hawkins, who was sitting along with two of his men, was interrupted and questioned about their leaving permit. At first, Hawkins remains uninterested in the inquiry, but is shortly agitated after repetition. It makes him angry when Aidan starts to push his limits and question him continuously. Eventually, Aidan punches Hawkins in the face and starts a brawl. Even though the men overpower Aidan, he is able to land several punches on the captain. At last, the fight diffuses when a senior intervenes. The senior then gives harsh treatment to Hawkins and informs him that there will be no promotion for him. This leaves Hawkins even more agitated. The evil captain decides to take the hard way for the promotion and packs up his bag for a long journey. Meanwhile, Aidan and Claire, who are trying to escape as well, are confronted by the evil captain, who demands an apology from the husband. When Aidan refuses to do so, he is held and beaten by Hawkins and his men. Later on, the evil captain torments Claire even further, this time in front of Aidan. This leaves Aidan no choice but to go for his gun. Eventually, he is restrained, and Hawkins shoots him instead. In the process, both Aidan and the newborn suffer fatal wounds. The next morning, Claire wakes up from her unconsciousness and decides to seek revenge on Hawkins and his men. At first, he informs the locals about the incident, and then the authorities. When she learns that none of them are of much use, she decides to take revenge on herself. She makes a deal with Billy, a local man, to trace the evil guys. She doesn't inform him about the true nature of her journey, but she makes sure that Billy doesn't betray him midway. Claire marches on with Billy, deep into the jungle. Meanwhile, Hawkins deduces that one of his men is not happy with what they did last night. He makes sure to put him in his place and continues with his evil plans. In one instance, Claire's horse gets stuck in the mud. She is unable to remove it from the deep mud and realizes the difficulty of the situation. She remains totally adamant about tracing the bad guys and pushes Billy to his maximum. The duo then encounters a couple of thugs in the forest, and Claire has to make a run for them to save herself. She is able to get away easily with the help of her horse, as she manages to escape the bad guys. Soon enough, she unites with Bill and vents out her frustration. Back at the Hawkins camp, the evil doings continue. The captain takes hold of a native woman and torments her in the absence of the tribe. When the tribe members finally catch up with them, they kill and injure multiple men from Hawkins's team. This leads to one of the guys, Jago, being wounded in the leg. The evil captain somehow manages to escape again, along with his subordinate Ruse, by killing the woman. Meanwhile, an injured Jaco flees into the forest. The entire trail of bloodshed makes it easier for Claire and Bill to follow up. Eventually, the duo catches up with Jaco. At first, he tries to outrun them but falls short due to his wounded leg. A nervous but revenge-filled Claire shoots at Jaco, but misses in her first attempt. She then tries to regain control of her senses, and Jacob pulls out his knife. This is when Claire overpowers the bad guy and seeks her revenge. She is able to kill Jaco, but Bill oversees the entire act. This becomes the first instance when Bill is introduced to the real intentions of Claire. Even though the duo had bonded over their tragic stories before, this makes for a shocking moment for Bill. Hawkins continues to ascend in the direction of his destination. He gets a little help from Charlie, a fellow nomad, who suggests a different path than usual. Charlie makes the trio of Hawkins, Ruse, and Eddie climb up the mountain trail. When Claire and Bill are done reconciling over their past deeds, they start to follow up with the evil guys. When they reach the mountains, Bill suggests that it will be better if they take a different path and come around with their horse. Charlie leads the evil captain everywhere. This agitates Hawkins even further as he decides to confront the nomad. This time around, Roos makes the mistake of pulling the trigger and leaves Charlie dead, thereby making them completely stuck in the place. An angry Hawkins decides to punish Roos by making Eddie the new sergeant. He also gives Roos a limited amount of time to get them out of the place. When Roos fails to do so, Hawkins plans an elaborate scheme to punish him. He hands over the call to Eddie and puts a gun on Roos. He gives Eddie the deciding capability to shoot Roos or leave him alive. At last, Roos barely survives at the mercy of Eddie. On their path, Claire and Billy encounter Charlie's body. They are disgusted with the actions of Hawkins and his men. The duo decides to say a proper farewell to Charlie. Billy performs his traditional ode to the dead and bids Charlie adieu. The duo of Claire and Bill finally catch up with the bad guys. When Claire gets the chance to shoot Hawkins directly, she falls short. The nervous Claire gets shot first, and she decides to abandon her mission. She insists Billy get her horse back, as it is the only living memory of her husband. When Billy takes the horse back from the guys, he is caught by Hawkins. At first, they torture Billy into showing them the way outside, and later leave him at the mercy of Eddie. The evil captain gets out of the dense forest. When he realizes that there is no need for Billy, he provides Eddie with a gun to shoot him. The kid shakes in nervousness to put an aim on Billy and remains unsure. When a young Eddie misses the shot entirely, Billy manages to escape. This time, Eddie pays the price for it. Meanwhile, Claire receives help from a couple of strangers and is able to get out of the forest. At first, she is helped by a passing couple who inform her about the road ahead. She is delighted with joy when she gets to see a carriage cart. Later on, when she gets on the main road, she takes a lift from an old lady in the cart. It takes her only a short while to reunite with Billy. They both acknowledge their failures and start walking on the road. This is when both of them decide to travel and reach the nearest town. On their journey, they encounter another group of slave owners. This infuriates Billy, but he is not able to prevent anything. When the duo finally reaches a town, they witness Hawkins and Roos already present in the area. This is when Claire decides to stand up for herself and reveal the details of the wrongdoings in front of Hawkins' colleagues. Everyone takes notice of Hawkins' changing expression. During the night, Billy decides to take it upon himself to extract revenge from Hawkins and his men. At first, he goes out to kill Hawkins with his arrow. He opens a door where Hawkins is lying awake. He is surprised to see Billy in his room, and he does little to save his life. Billy takes advantage of his position and kills Hawkins using his sharp arrow blade. Billy decides that he is not done here. He goes full throttle and tries to find Hawkins' subordinate Roos. He is successful in locating Roos and makes up his mind to repeat the same deed. When he starts to go after Roos, he gets shot. This leaves Claire in anguish as she stands in dismay. Billy is wounded after the shot but remains mobile. He comes after Roos, even though the latter decides to shoot him again. This time around, Roos fails to reload his gun in time, and Roos gets killed in the same fashion as Hawkins. Claire helps Billy escape the scene. She helps him get on the horse and leave the scene of action. An injured Billy rides away with Claire. At first, it is unclear where the two might end up, but it is revealed that the duo was heading towards Billy's destroyed homeland. The two sit on a beach, situated in Billy's homeland. They look at the shore and start to sing their respective songs. The screen fades to black. The film ends here. I hope you liked this movie recap. Please comment down on what you liked about this movie and what scene you liked, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.